Every trailer covered across parts 1 through 6 is a complete unit. It has a body, a purpose, and a cargo. You back a tractor under it, lock the fifth wheel, and it works. This part covers something different. The components that make other trailers possible. The connectors that turn one trailer into two. The configurations that combine existing trailers in ways that change what a single tractor can legally carry. And the trailers that exist specifically because certain cargo has dimensions that no standard body can contain. None of these are glamorous. Most of them are invisible to everyone who does not work with them. But without them, half the combinations covered in this series could not legally operate on public roads. The converter dolly. The converter dolly has appeared in 3 separate parts of this series: doubles, triples, Rocky Mountain doubles, turnpike doubles, always described as the connector between trailers without ever getting its own explanation. This is that explanation. A converter dolly is a short-wheeled unit with its own axle group, its own braking system, its own lighting connections, and a fifth wheel mounted on top. It connects to the rear of a lead trailer using a drawbar, a rigid steel bar that pins to the dolly's front and couples to a pintle hook or ring on the rear of the lead trailer. The trailing trailer's kingpin then couples to the dolly's fifth wheel exactly the way a standard trailer couples to a tractor. The dolly itself carries no cargo. It is entirely a mechanical intermediary, a rolling coupling device that allows a second trailer to be towed legally and safely behind a first trailer. A standard converter dolly weighs between 1,400 and 2,300 kilograms, 3,100 to 5,100 pounds, roughly the weight of a standard European compact car at the lighter end, or a large American pickup truck cab at the heavier end. Its wheelbase, the distance between its axle and its drawbar connection point, is typically 1.2 to 1.8 meters, 4 to 6 feet, about the width of a standard doorway in either system. The engineering detail most people never consider about a converter dolly is the braking system. A dolly is not just rolling passively behind the lead trailer. It has its own air brake circuit connected to the tractor's brake system through the lead trailer's glad hand connections. When the driver brakes, all 3 units, tractor, lead trailer, and dolly with its trailing trailer, brake simultaneously. A dolly with a failed brake connection does not just reduce braking efficiency, it destabilizes the entire combination under emergency braking by allowing the rear unit to continue pushing forward while the front units decelerate. Anti-jackknife coupling on some configurations. Some converter dollies used in B-train adjacent configurations carry a restricted swing coupling that limits the articulation angle between the dolly and the lead trailer, reducing the tendency of the rear unit to swing wide under braking or in emergency maneuvers. Without the converter dolly, the doubles, triples, Rocky Mountain doubles, and turnpike doubles covered in parts 2 and 5 do not exist as road-legal combinations. It is the single component that makes multi-trailer semi-combinations possible. The Jeep dolly. The Jeep dolly serves a completely different purpose from the converter dolly despite sharing the word dolly in its name. Where a converter dolly connects 2 trailers together, a Jeep dolly connects a trailer to a tractor in a way that adds an extra axle group between them, changing the weight distribution of the combination and increasing the legal payload the tractor can carry. A Jeep dolly, also called a Jeep or a steer dolly in some regions, is a short-wheeled unit that couples to the tractor's fifth wheel at the front and carries a secondary fifth wheel on its rear deck for the trailer kingpin. The tractor no longer connects directly to the trailer. It connects to the Jeep dolly, and the Jeep dolly connects to the trailer. The Jeep dolly's own axle group sits between the tractor's rear axles and the trailer's front axles, adding a third axle group to the front of the combination. The reason this matters is legal axle weight limits. Road weight regulations in most jurisdictions limit the load on any single axle group. By spreading the total combination weight across more axle groups, the operator can carry more total weight within legal limits. A tractor and trailer combination that is at its legal weight limit on 2 axle groups can legally carry more total weight if a Jeep dolly adds a third axle group between them, because the same total weight is now distributed across 3 groups instead of 2. Steerable front axle on most configurations. Unlike a converter dolly, which simply trails behind the lead trailer, a Jeep dolly sits between the tractor and the trailer, where it influences how the combination steers. Most Jeep dollies have a steerable front axle that follows the tractor's steering inputs, preventing the Jeep from scrubbing its tires through corners the way a fixed axle would. The steering geometry is passive. The axle turns in response to the physical forces of cornering rather than through any active steering input from the driver. Jeep dollies are most common in heavy haulage operations in Australia and parts of Asia, where road train configurations and high-mass vehicle permits allow combinations that would not be legal on standard European or North American roads. In the US, they appear primarily in permitted oversize and overweight operations, where the additional axle group is required as a condition of the permit. The PUP trailer. The PUP trailer has appeared multiple times across this series, in doubles, triples, Rocky Mountain doubles, always as the short trailer in the combination, always described by its length without ever being explained as a standalone unit with its own design logic. A PUP trailer is a short semi-trailer, typically 26 to 32 feet long, 7.9 to 9.75 meters, roughly the length of a standard London double-decker bus in Europe, or the distance between the pitcher's mound and home plate on a baseball diamond in the US. It is built on a standard semi-trailer chassis, with a kingpin at the front for fifth wheel coupling, and axles at the rear, mechanically identical to a full-size trailer in every respect except length. The reason the pup trailer exists as a separate unit from a full-size trailer is not that short trailers are inherently useful on their own. A 28-foot trailer carries significantly less freight than a 53-foot trailer per trip and is less economical when operated as a single unit. The pup trailer exists because LTL, less than truckload, freight operations need a trailer that can be decoupled at a distribution hub, held in a bay while it is loaded with consolidated freight from multiple origins, and then coupled to a different tractor headed to a different destination, all without the physical constraints of a 53-foot trailer in a hub facility designed around 28-foot bays. The hub operation that makes pup trailers essential works like this. A tractor arrives at a hub pulling two 28-foot pups connected by a converter dolly. The tractor drops both pups in the yard. The pups are separated. Each one is moved independently by a yard truck, a short-range tractor that moves trailers within a facility, to a loading dock bay. Each one is loaded with freight headed to a different destination. Each one couples to a different outbound tractor and leaves the hub on a completely different route. The freight that arrived together leaves separately. The pup trailer is the unit that makes that separation and recombination possible. Reinforced kingpin plate on high-cycle pups. LTL pup trailers couple and decouple from fifth wheels multiple times per day across years of operation, significantly more frequently than a standard line haul trailer. The kingpin plate, the steel disc around the kingpin that contacts the fifth wheel jaws, is built heavier on high-cycle pup trailers to resist the wear that repeated coupling causes on a standard plate. The extendable double drop. The double drop lowboy covered in Part 2 solved the height problem, the main deck sitting approximately 46 centimeters, 18 inches, off the ground, giving tall machinery maximum vertical clearance within legal height limits. The extendable flatbed covered in Part 1 solved the length problem, a telescoping rear section that extends the deck for cargo too long for a standard trailer. The extendable double drop combines both solutions in one trailer for cargo that is simultaneously too tall for a standard lowboy and too long for a standard extendable flatbed. The base structure is a double drop lowboy frame, gooseneck at the front, dropped main deck, raised rear section over the axles. To that base, the following is added: telescoping rear extension. The rear section of the main deck slides rearward on hydraulic or mechanical rails, extending the total deck length from a standard configuration of approximately 24 to 29 feet, 7.3 to 8.8 meters, out to 50 feet, 15.2 meters, or more on specialized configurations, roughly the distance from one penalty spot to the other on a standard soccer pitch in Europe, or the length of a standard American school bus in the US at the shorter end. Removable gooseneck on most configurations, because the loads that need an extendable double drop are typically too heavy to drive on from the rear up a ramp. Most extendable double drop trailers also incorporate a removable gooseneck. The front section detaches, the deck lowers to ground level, and the equipment drives on from the front before the gooseneck reattaches and raises the front of the deck back to working height. The cargo that drives demand for this specific combination, tall and long simultaneously, includes large industrial generators, power station transformers, mining processing equipment, and prefabricated industrial vessels. A transformer for a power substation can be 4 meters, 13 feet tall, 5 meters, 16 feet wide, and 12 meters, 40 feet long, weighing 150 tons, 330,000 pounds, roughly the weight of 25 adult African elephants at approximately 6,000 kilograms, 13,000 pounds each, or 100 average European family cars at approximately 1,500 kilograms, 3,300 pounds each. No single other trailer type handles all three of those dimensions simultaneously. The pole trailer. The logging trailer covered in Part 2 used the logs themselves as the structural connection between the front bolster and the rear dolly. The cargo was the trailer. The pole trailer applies the same principle to road-legal loads of long structural material: telephone poles, timber beams, steel pipe sections, and concrete piles, where the length of the cargo exceeds what any standard trailer can carry, and the cargo itself is rigid enough to span the gap between two separate trailer units. A pole trailer consists of two separate units: a front bolster, a short-wheeled platform with a fifth wheel that couples to the tractor, and a rear dolly, an independent wheeled unit with its own axles and braking system. Between them is nothing. No frame, no deck, no connecting structure except the cargo itself, resting in curved steel cradles, called bunks, on both units and chained or strapped to prevent any longitudinal sliding. The front unit couples to the tractor's fifth wheel. The rear unit trails freely, its steering determined by the physical forces transmitted through the load as the combination corners. The cargo spans the open air between the two units. A telephone pole 18 meters, 60 feet, long, roughly the height of a 6-story building in Europe, or the distance from home plate to first base on a baseball diamond in the US, resting at each end in a bunk and held by chains at each contact point. Telescoping bunk adjustment. The distance between the front and rear bunk is adjustable on most pole trailers to accommodate different load lengths without the rear dolly position being fixed. The rear dolly slides along the load to the correct support point for the specific cargo and is locked in position before departure. Reach, the telescoping connection rod on some configurations. Some pole trailer designs add a rigid telescoping steel tube, called a reach, running from the front unit to the rear unit parallel to the load. The reach does not carry load. It limits the maximum separation distance between the two units and provides a positive connection that prevents the rear unit from drifting laterally relative to the front unit on curves. Not all pole trailers use a reach. On very stiff loads, the cargo itself provides sufficient lateral constraint. Pole trailers are one of the oldest specialized trailer configurations in road freight. They predate most of the other trailers in this series by decades because the need to move long timber and structural materials by road existed before the engineering for enclosed trailers, lowboys, and flatbeds was fully developed. The enclosed flatbed. Every flatbed covered in this series, standard flatbed, step deck, lowboy, Conestoga, carries its cargo exposed to the weather, secured by chains and straps, visible from the road. The cargo is accessible from every side but protected from nothing. The enclosed flatbed, also called a dry van flatbed or a curtain-sided flatbed in some markets, is a standard flatbed frame with a complete enclosure added to it. The enclosure provides full weather protection and cargo security while preserving the side and top accessibility that makes a flatbed useful for loads that cannot enter through rear doors. The base is a standard flatbed frame, steel rails, cross members, and axle groups identical to a standard 48 or 53-foot flatbed. To that base, the following is added: fixed or removable side walls, steel or aluminum side panels, either rigid and fixed or removable in sections, run the full length of the trailer on both sides, enclosing the cargo from rain, road spray, and theft. Removable side panels allow forklift access from the side for loading and unloading, which is impossible on a standard dry van where the only access is through the rear doors. Roof structure. A fixed or sliding roof closes the top of the enclosure. Sliding roof configurations, common in European markets, allow crane access from above for loads that need to be lifted in, rather than driven or forklift loaded from the side, rear door, or curtain system. The rear of the enclosure closes with either conventional swing doors, identical to a standard dry van, or with curtain panels on overhead tracks, identical to a curtain sider, depending on the operator's preference and the delivery environment. The cargo that benefits from an enclosed flatbed is cargo that needs weather protection, but also needs side access. High-value manufactured goods, precision machinery, automotive components, and any load that a forklift needs to place from the side rather than slide in from the rear. A standard dry van forces every load to enter through a single rear opening, 2.34 meters, 7 feet 8 inches, wide. An enclosed flatbed with removable side panels gives a forklift access to the full 2.44 meter, 8-foot width of the trailer at any point along its full length. 6 components and configurations. None of them carry cargo on their own. All of them make something else possible. The converter dolly that turns one trailer into two. The Jeep dolly that adds an axle group between the tractor and trailer to carry more weight legally. The pup trailer built not for its size, but for the hub operation its size makes possible. The extendable double drop combining the height solution of a lowboy and the length solution of an extendable flatbed in a single unit. The pole trailer where the cargo is the structure connecting the front and rear units across open air. And the enclosed flatbed that adds full weather protection to a platform that was never meant to have walls. 7 parts, somewhere over 50 trailers, every one of them a specific engineering answer to a specific problem that existed before the trailer was built. The road moves everything. Now you know what it moves it in.